Habargani, Hotep, it's Elder Alona. We are going to invite our ancestors in by pouring libations. And that creative energy, the creative power that we are all a part of, we invite that creator in and we'll say, Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Tabargani, this is Elder Greg. We always want to back to the beginnings of our people. When we look at ancient Kemet, those people responsible for creating the pyramids, for astrology, for mathematics, all those things. When we look at folk like Imhotep, Akhenaten, Queen Nzinga, all of those folks, and we pour to them by saying,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Then there are those ancestors that ended up in the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, who didn't make it to these shores. We ask their energy to be with us and we pour to them and we'll say, Ashe.
Ashe. And always for those who made that great strange voyage, the Middle Passage, and made it here, responsible to be here today, we want to pour and say, Ashe.
Ashe. Those ancestors that we know by name, such as Bookman, such as Harriet Tubman, Arminta, such as Sojourner Truth, and Frederick Douglass, all of those ancestors who fought and died for us, we pour to them and we'll say, Ashe.
Ashe. We want to make sure that we always remember our personal ancestors, those folks who are near and dear to us by blood and by kin. My grandmother, Alice Arnold, my father, Arthur Arnold, my mother, Helena Arnold, my mother-in-law, Hattie Reed, my father-in-law, Charles Reed, all of those ancestors. We say, Ashe.
Ashe. Everything we do is for our eternity. Our eternity is our children. Our children is our eternity. We pour to the Watoto, our children, and we'll say, Ashe.
Ashe. For the four directions, the north, south, east, and west, we say, Ashe.
Ashe. And finally, we pour to ourselves, to African people, carrying on African traditions. We pour to ourselves and we'll say, Ashe,
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 and
Ashe. Asante Sana, Habargani.
Asante Sana.
Habargani, Imani. I felt your Imani faith in my heart, all the way from Cleveland, Youngstown, Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo, Akron, Columbus, across the state of Ohio, across the United States, around the world. My name is Emily E. Bailey, and I am honored to be your host tonight. Asante Sana. Thank you, Tawi Family Village and GNJ Media for hosting this year's virtual Kwanzaa celebration. Will you please stand and join us in singing our Black national anthem?
Albert Moore. Some of you may know me from 1580 WVKO. Others may know me as a Columbus City School teacher for over 30 years, where I taught at Whetstone High School, Eastmore High School, North High School, and I started at Walnut Ridge. But Educators Got Talent, Emily Bailey, she called me and asked me if I would be willing to sing the Negro National Anthem. And of course, I'm honored to do anything that those awesome ladies ask me to do. For all of you and for Educators Got Talent, here's the Negro National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the day that hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place on which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that the tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past till now we stand at last where the white gleam of our star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us safe this far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us unto the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath the hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our native land. God bless you.
Thank you for singing our Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please continue standing as Tyree Family Village presents the principle of the day. This will be followed by a Kwanzaa poem. Jumbo, today is a blessing because this is an opportunity to introduce myself to you. I am Elder Emily E. Bailey, a newly admitted elder in the Tawi family village. I am honored. El Nawah Akabin is unique to our initiate group. We are composed of elders, nation builders, and warriors. Akabin is symbolic because all ages, skills, talents, and wisdom is united as we readily prepare to heed to the call to action. This initiation revived my thirst for knowledge in regards to African ancestry and the need for me to continue to study so that I can help lead the next generations. My gift to the village is my gift of serving and uniting people, children, young, old, mothers, fathers, all that are in the community as one so that we can join together and make a difference. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Imani. That is the principle of the day. Imani means faith. And when I think of faith, I think of Mary McLeod Bethune. With $1.50, she had faith that she could start a school, and she did. And that school has become Bethune Cookman University. And she says in her legacy, faith. Without faith, we can do nothing. With faith, anything and everything is possible.
Just like magic.
Stay on it. Go wait there. Don't be patient. Be patient.
Include your snip.
This is tradition. Black candle. We're looking forward to our unity with the unity cup and the seeds that will bring forth our new understanding. We're working together, umoja. But just like Karanga and them say, tradition comes with reason, and sometimes reason comes in another form. So the black light is here. Ashe,
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 Ashe.
Ashe.
Oh la di bo mansia, lin Kelly, oh la di da. Bimbo mansia,
Eh, la di da. Oh, la di bo, mansia. Lingari, oh, la di da. Oh, mansia. Eh.
the four Canaras are representing the four corners of Ohio, along with the four containers, and the big Canara is representing the Umoja, the unity of us all coming together, and like they say, speaking with one voice. Thank you.
You may be seated if you're not already. The principle of the day is Imani, faith. To believe with our hearts in our people, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. I'd like to read an excerpt from the I Have a Dream speech, where Martin Luther King, Dr. King, talks about faith. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out mountains of despair, a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discord of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand out for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. Please visit the Kwanzaa vendors that can be found on the Kwanzaa vendor tab on the gnj.media homepage. Buy from our vendors and support Black businesses. Ujamaa. At each Kwanzaa celebration, Tawi Family Village awards community members. Awards are acknowledged for their outstanding service and leadership in the Black community. Now, we will introduce the 2020 Imani Award winner.
All right, family. I didn't even know that I got an award. I want to accept it humbly. I have been on quarantine. I'm just not able to come off, so I don't have my beautiful award with me. But I want to thank the Tawi Family Village for considering me. In the background, we're right now planning for Kwanzaa, so by the time y'all see this, we almost done. And I want to thank every last one of you for participating with us and spending some time with us. But I would encourage everybody to sign up for gnj.media, go to gnj.media so that we can start building our own platform. And family, I honestly believe that this is going to be our century from this point on. All we gotta do is claim it and start working together. As y'all here, we're planning for y'all, but this is something that I'm going through every day. Every day I'm thinking about and talking about how I'm gonna be able to help my people. Every day I'm getting up and I'm toasting our ancestors. And I'm not just doing that for me, I'm doing it for all of us. So I want to thank y'all once again for this award. And I'm going to continue practicing faith and moving forward and doing what we do here in Gye-Nyame. In Gye-Nyame, we say, make it happen. So I have no choice. Peace.
Congratulations, Hatim. You do a lot for the community, and we're proud of it. Thank you. It is time for our community education segment. Tonight, it will be led by Dr. Greg Carr.
All right, family, we want to welcome you. It is Kwanzaa. It's Kwanzaa, and we are so blessed that you have chosen to take some time and sit down with us. And we are blessed right now to be sitting in a digital room. I wish I was closer to my brother, but we're sitting in a digital room with my brother, Dr. Greg Kamati Carr, Professor Dr. Greg Kamati Carr. Met him at Ohio State. And the brother has always impressed me.
Well, that feeling is mutual, brother. We go all the way back.
Way back.
Way back to the day, baby.
And the principle for the day is Imani. And let me go and put up our thing so that the family can see. Our idea is charting legacy and Imani. And I know it's kind of, Lord have mercy. Let me take that down. I spelled Imani wrong. I made it through college.
I was a phonetic.
Right. I thought
we weren't. we were building, brother. That's all right. We know.
But speaking, so now, what role? I mean, and it's kind of a crazy question, but what role does faith play in the development of history and in our story as a people?
Oh well, Baba, that's well. First of all, thank you for the invitation home to Columbus and to Ohio, and of course digitally now, the world is part of this conversation. But thank you for allowing me, even as this plague has made this possible, or at least made everybody now participate physically separate from each other. Thank you for allowing me to continue to join the family, but to do it very directly with this. Y'all mean so much to me. If it weren't, for you, if it weren't for the family, if it wasn't for the African Center, if it wasn't for Tawi, we wouldn't be trying to do the work that we're trying to do here in the same way. We wouldn't be. I'm sure we'd be working somewhere, but that really is in many ways a cradle, the cradle for so many of us where you're sitting. So thank you. And I think that really kind of undergirds the concept of Imani, the work that you're doing, because that work speaks to making real, making tangible, making something come into existence that before then was a hope, was a vision. And earlier in the week, when Baba Mariba Kelsey, he and Mama Nandi, his partner, and the Kelsey family, being at the center of those families and communities that had a vision and made it manifest. And here we are, part of that generation that came into the space that they had a vision for and then began to build, that we all joined our hands in. And here you are having fathered as part of a community of fathers and mothers in that generation, another 2 generations of people. And that's really faith. I mean, the technical well, not the technical definition, the literal definition, at least as we take it from the organization US, which in 1966 brings Kwanzaa as we practice it into existence as an act of faith. We talk about Imani being to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. You know, that's something you got to see before you achieve it. And I think that connects to our history, our memory more broadly. As Marcus Garvey would say, and the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League of the World, what people have done, what Africans have done, Africans can do. Word. So, yeah, I'm as big a fan of Afrofuturism as anybody. And now folks are being introduced into Lovecraft country, and they hearing Sun Ra for the first time. They yeah, this is great, and they traveling through worlds. Okay, everybody slow down. Oh, that's great. Wakanda is great. All that stuff is great. Understand that you gave the world all of the learning arts. You gave the world all of the foundation for everything we're doing now intellectually, everything we're doing now culturally, even the mistakes Africans made first. So you don't have to make up a world that never existed before you first ground yourself in the world that came into existence as a practice of your faith in yourself, your family, those who taught you, those who you promoted to lead you, and ultimately in the rightness of our struggle. So and we can talk about legacy too in a minute, but yes, that's I mean,
you know, brother, I wanted to approach it from a slightly different perspective, but I want you to draw the nexus. I want you to think of noon and the perfect symmetry therein. And then there was breaking of that symmetry so that we have what we have today. I want you to make that connection between faith, as our ancestors saw it through this coming into being, as it were, to the practical application of what all you described. So in other words, to summarize, draw the connection between how our ancestors saw things into being and how we, using those same ideas, bring things into being in our own lives.
Well, Brother Kwame, and thank you, brother. Before we went live, we were talking about, you know, some of our roots, which probably cross stream somewhere there in the Middle South. It's good to see you, brother. It is. Well, you put the heaviest question of all, I think, into this, injecting into the conversation. The question of time and space, of orientation.
We're gonna hit that one. Time and space. I'm sorry.
No, that's what we're doing. We having a conversation, and that's the thing, right? We're human beings, which means we exist in time and space. We're part of this great cosmic existence, this boundless, limitless, directionless existence that we are in. But as Jacob Carruthers kind of began to develop in Chicago with the study group, the think tank that we know continues to exist to today. I'm a proud extended family member of it. The Kemetic Institute, one of the sister study group / think tank organizations to the African Center in the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. That's when I became aware of the Kemetic Institute. In fact, was through sitting there in East Columbus on Livingston with the family in the circle, reading Jacob Carruthers, watching Jacob Carruthers on videos. And then for the regional, the Midwest region of ASCAC, one November, we traveled from Columbus to Cincinnati, and I got a chance to sit with Jacob Carruthers, and that began a long relationship, very close relationship. I consider Jacob Carruthers a father of mine, and until he made transition physically in 2004. I mean, 1998, he was on my dissertation committee. So Carruthers, in conversation with that family in the African Center, including some Ohioans, folks with Ohio roots, like the great Kwaku Larry Crow from Dayton. And brothers from Dayton used to drive up to the African Center on Friday nights. They come from Dayton with books and stuff we couldn't get, head back to Dayton. Larry, one of them cats, he spent a lot of years in Chicago. He's a KI member. But Carruthers published a series of lectures that he gave and conversations he had in the Kemetic Institute in 1984. And the book is called Essays in Ancient Egyptian Studies. And he talks about questions of orientation and time and space. And Kwame, he starts with, very near the beginning of these lectures of this small book, questions of orientation in time and space. How do we as human beings perceive ourselves as part of this larger, limitless, directionless existence? Existence is too vast and expanding for us to be able to grasp, although we are literally part of it. And so even the idea that we would say that it's directionless and it's constantly expanding, and then of course a child would say, in a moment of alchemy almost, like, well, if it's expanding, what is it expanding into?
That's right. That's
which only confirms that we can't even perceive it for our little part in it, because even the language we use fails, because whatever it's expanding into already existed, which brings us to the noon. The noon is, period. Even the verb, because if we add anything past is, it begins to shrink time and space. The noon is part of, no, just put the period after is. The noon is. You know what I'm saying? So, because if you say anything past is, we've already begun. I like the way Howard Thurman, theologian, used to say it. I mean, people call Howard Thurman a mystic, and I understand why. They just need to leave Howard Thurman alone. Howard Thurman, born in Jacksonville, Florida, he grew up Christian, but by the time he made physical transition, or better yet, return to the source, as if he ever left the source, how do we even define life? Oh, we passed. No, maybe not. Maybe the arrangement of our atoms changed, but did we really change? So, but we're in something that is. But what Thurman said was, what we call religion, Thurman said, existence exists. And so we exist in existence. But then we try to understand existence, and it's too big. So anytime we try to describe existence, existence continues to exist. And so what we do is try to draw a bead on something we can observe and use that to hold on to and create a handle that we can move ourselves around in existence. He says all religion is. The stories, we're just trying to draw a bead on something and make it into a handle. Is it Olodumare? Is it Nyame? Is it Amun? Is it Jesus? What? I need a handle, man. I can't. It's too big. So Thurman is describing our attempts to describe the indescribable, because as part of it, we exist too. And then Thurman drops the hammer. He says, meanwhile, existence continues to exist. It keeps existing. It keeps moving, even as we're trying to handle. So I said all that to say that we're the first humans on the planet. We're the first to look like what we look like in terms of living beings, to occupy this little spinning speck in this limitless ocean of existence. And so we have been at the process of attempting to put labels on what's happening longer than anyone on the planet, with all due respect to everybody else who are our children. So it's I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew. Okay, that's fine. These are very, 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 very recent lessons that our children have drawn from to try to continue to express. And that's fine. Children always do that, right? But don't start there. So when you said the noon, somebody said, "What's the noon?" Okay, we could use the 26 character alphabet, which is only a system of markings trying to evoke sounds that we've put to word to try to reduce reality to something we can express. So yeah, we would spell that perhaps N-U-N or N-W-N, so we can sound out noon, as you say. And then the Egyptians, the symbols out of which that is drawn are the noon is a concept like it's almost the concept of movement, but movement as reduced to our perception, almost like water, like because water symbolizes movement, air symbolizes movement too, but we can see water, we can't see air. So even one of the Egyptian words for what might be translated as God or deity, or I'll say God as such, but nature, right? The word nature, the symbol for it is a staff, a stick with a flag on it, and the flag is straight out. But that's not really. It's the symbol for God, but a symbol for God, for divinity, but it is gesturing towards something we can't see. The reason that flag is straight out is because the wind is blowing through it. So what it's really communicating is the thing we exist in, we can't see. So you're looking at the flag, but there's something making that flag go that way. And that's the thing you can't see. So we can't see air. So they made noon in part water. We can see water, and water, like air, is always moving. So the noon symbolizes in some ways movement, the ungent, ceaseless, directionless movement. Carruthers writes about this in his book 1995 called Medu Neter, where he's writing about this. These are the founding principles. The Egyptians say, let's try to find reality. So, I went all the way around the barn, Kwame, to get to this point. The Egyptians say, out of the noon, out of the primeval waters, emerges the firmament, emerges the thing that we walk on. And then, of course, out of the thing we walk on, we emerge. Having everything comes out of the water. Everything tangible, all this stuff comes out of the water. Well, that sounds familiar. Yeah, because our children's children eventually took that story, put it in first through the Hebrew, Jewish, then through the Christian, the first book in the book that they made after they wanted to make something for themselves. Okay, fine, the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But there's something that precedes the darkness, which is another principle.
That's right.
You know, the darkness is, all these are just basic principles. Things move, directionless movement. Everything is dark. Universal darkness. Really? Yeah. So as we came out of that? Yes. Why? Because the noon be, meaning what? Everything that exists existed. It exists. When did it start? Don't stop trying to reduce this to it exists. You know what I'm saying? Well, if it's all dark, how come I can see you? Because at a certain moment, it manifested itself into another manifestation of things that always existed. What? Yes. And so in the Christian Bible, in the Hebrew Torah, it say in the beginning, darkness moved on the face of the deep. Okay, y'all can tell the story any kind of you want, but in the beginning was the word. What is the word? The word is another thing that always exists. That animation that allows you to transform something from something you can't see to something you can. So the word is speech. It is speech that injects another principle. What? This energy. So you got this movement, you got this darkness, and then there's speech. What does speech do? Speech makes it manifest into a way you can perceive it. Now, before speech, the Egyptians have many words for this thing that you can't see, the hidden thing you can't see, hidden to our perception. One of the words that probably is the word that comes to us in 2020 from the beginning, from the Egyptian concept, is Amen. We say Amen, or in Arabic, Amin, but the Egyptians, we might sound that as Amun. And as they say in the Kemetic Institute, we say in ASCAC, is it African Center? We say, at the end of a ritual, we might say it is Amun. which is translated roughly as the hidden one, the unseen one. It is our moon, who, although hidden, is the source of all life, power, and health. In other words, you can't see it, but this animating function, which is speech, allows you to see it come into existence. Why? So before it existed in a way we could see, it always existed. Speech allows it to come into a perceptibility for us. And what is speech? One of the Egyptian words, medu. What is speech? Speech is the moment when you came into existence out of the thing that always existed. You came in the form that we perceive right now. So in many ways, Greg, Kimathi, Hatem, Kwame, we're all speeches. We are the speeches of our parents. That's what Papa James Small always say, you are your ancestors. Meaning what? You didn't make yourself. Your parents combined and spoke you. Your father spoke you into your mother's womb, and then your mother spoke you into existence through her womb. We didn't do it. Now, your children are your speech. You and your partner spoke them into existence. And speech continues from the first speech. And that's where the Egyptians would say something like the septepi, or the first occasion. If you're looking for a first, don't look from the beginning of everything that exists. Look from when you came into existence and then go back if you must orient yourself in time and space. This is why Carruthers in Essays in Ancient Egyptian Studies keeps talking about questions of orientation in time and space. We be looking back first instead of starting with us.
Right.
So we have to find that practical application of that.
That is the first practical application. What you all doing right now, everybody watching, everybody, Tawi, Village, African Center, the connections start with, how's the family? Check on your family during COVID. How your mom know? How your grandma know? Oh man, somebody passed. We gotta get together for the ritual. We can't all physically be together. Somebody send the link. Let's do the ritual. We all watch. It's very practical. Why? Because your family is the beginning. This is the act of faith. Don't start with the great kings and queens. Between them and you is your mom and them. Did everybody eat today? You know what I'm saying? You're looking for God. Go find them people out there who had nothing to eat. And who's stopping them?
That's right.
Who's stopping them from eating? Now go bang on them. You see that cracker over there? Donald John Trump, you piece of shit. Excuse my French. I know some children watching.
I ain't never heard you cuss, Brian. Wow.
Nah, brother, because that man elicits cursing. But I'm gonna tell you who else. I ain't mad at him because he is an errant child who is the son of another series of errant children who go back to when we made the mistake of walking up into that ice and getting trapped in that ice age, and we had to adapt to it. This is the whole branch of the human family called the Europeans. We can't blame them. But because we did what we needed to do to survive. They came from us, and they've contributed some important things. And everybody ain't. I'm not talking about a good and evil are two small labels to try to apply to human beings. But neither can you be allowed to continue to tear up the house. Right? How the parents gonna let the child tear up the house? I'm not mad at Donald Trump. He's doing the best he can out of the errant culture he was from his psychopath father to his mother who looked the wrong way, to the siblings that let him run around like that, to his oldest brother who drunk himself to death and be an airplane pilot. I don't want to run the family business. Your whole thing is jacked up. Your niece Mary told about it in her book, right? So in other words, we all know you crazy, but we all know why. Because your family was jacked up. So in other words, this thing. So I ain't mad at him. Who I do have some issue with is the members of our family.
Okay.
Who would say, I'm not going to vote. They're all the same. This lady right here getting ready to get evicted from her house because of him and his friends. I don't like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris any more than I do any of the rest of them. But please understand that very practically, you are going to have a place to stay January 1st. That family may not have a place to stay, and it may have something to do with who's sitting in there giving out the money that you paid in taxes that they holding hostage. So don't ever say voting don't matter. Be practical and tactical when you're applying, unless you just have faith that Garvey and them coming back today, or Jesus or somebody, and even then, that's based on bad information. So we connecting memory and experience to faith. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go with it.
You know what I'm saying? But let me tie it up, because you asked, man, and we know the theme is legacy, right? Charting a legacy.
Charting a legacy.
So the noon, out of the noon comes everything we can perceive, which already existed before we could perceive it, but the act of speech brings it into existence. So the Christians would say it was the word, and so God created the light, and let there be light, and light came. He separated the firmament from the water. Okay, that's all stories, it's all metaphors for this process. Once we can perceive ourselves in time and space, we then spend our lives trying to be in tune with the existence. We can't change existence. We exist in it. Existence exists. So whether it be, these are principles of those of our children who migrated, who became the Asians, and among the Asians, the Chinese, the Koreans. I mean, so we look at Chinese philosophy, Korean ways of knowing, Confucianism, Buddhism, it all comes back to being able to perceive. Let's just sit in it, meditate, be in tune. Why? Because this is okay. Even the flawed perceptions, the so-called faith-based religions, Christianity and Islam, for example. Well, when you die, you want to go to paradise. Okay, Muslims. When you die, you want to go to heaven. Okay, Christians. What is that? That is a return to the thing that always existed. Okay. So then the question becomes, well, what do I have to do to get there? The Africans would say, you don't have to do anything but be. You're going back anyway. Now, right, while you're here, you want to mirror the thing that exists. That's right. But in some of the faith traditions, they would say, you ain't guaranteed to go back in the way that you want to go back. So there's certain things you got to do. But what they really are is crude attempts to say the same thing, except now they want to put a punitive dimension on it.
Right. And something they can control you with.
Right.
A control mechanism. So
that's right. That's right.
Looking at it historically, is the idea of faith different now than it was for us in the past? Because it's like, because you hit on some big concepts, and because I want to look at faith, the idea of faith historically, because are we talking about the same thing that our ancestors was dealing with? And then also, man,
Brother Hatim, contextualize your notion of the past, because
right.
It's fluid. It's fluid, brother.
That's right, Brother Kwame.
Let's go back to. We could go back to the plantation days. You know what I'm saying, we could go back
to the recent past.
To the recent past,
yes.
We go back to the ancient past.
Right.
Is the idea of faith, has it been consistent? Is it something, because is it something we missing?
Yes. Yes. And what we're missing is, what we're missing very practically, speak to Brother Kwame's very important interjection of that term. What we're missing very practically is conscious knowledge of what we have learned up to now.
Ooh.
That's where memory comes in. So what we're missing very, very practically, we don't remember either because we've forgotten, or we were never taught, or something interrupted the process of teaching and learning the lessons of our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, in what Carruthers might call the intergenerational transmission of wisdom. Jacob Carruthers, like Mariba Kelsey, two men, I just use those two men as example. I could think of many more, but these are two men whose work ethic, I got to observe up close. You could set your watch by them. You knew what to expect from them. You still know what to expect from Baba Mariba. He's going, the patience, the punctuality, the execution of plans, the commitment to fulfill what he said he's going to do. Jay Carruthers' case, the same thing. When I would stay with him in Chicago, Baba Jetty, as we call him, would he go to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night, late, he's in bed. Why? Because 4 in the morning, he's up reading, writing, thinking, doing what he's got to do. Why? That's his family. His father was a minister, but his grandfather was a farmer, and his great-grandfather was a farmer, and his great-grandfather, he started going to a little West Texas town that they started. You know what I'm saying? This, you know what? I did the lesson I was taught. I just applied it to my craft. Go ahead, Bob.
Because you got to clear up for some of the young people that's born up north. You use a term that they might not understand. You said 4 day. Could you please explain to the young people?
Right. Before the sun came up. Before the sun comes up, right? Right. No question. 4 day in the morning. Before day, right? 4 day. Actually, I'm glad. I'm glad you said that, Baba Hatem. Why? Because even that is a human attempt to narrate reality. The sun doesn't move.
It sure don't.
The earth moves around the sun.
Right.
So what we experience as sunrise is in fact the earth rotating. So, you know, the earth goes around the sun, it goes around its cycle, it's spinning while it's doing that. Here we are in the moment of Kwanzaa, the day of Imani, which is marking slowly the return of the earth in terms of proximity to the sun. We just passed the solstice.
Right.
But all these are astronomical phenomena that we then attempt to narrate so that we can perceive it. So our attempt to narrate astronomical phenomena, the thing that exists, the stories we tell, we categorize that as astronomy. I'm sorry, as astrology. So astronomy is trying to perceive what's going on out there beyond this ball we're on. Astrology is the attempt to narrate it into something we can understand. Logos, you know what I mean? Right. We just trying. So we say, "Oh, you're a Sagittarius, all Pisces, all them two don't mix. The stars are all Mercury is in retrograde." Okay, these are just all stories attempting to narrate our being in this larger thing. So sunrise, sunset, when we do things, there are rituals, and we could talk about the much larger things, you know, whether it be architecture, mathematics. Sachet, for example, in ancient Egypt, the female principal that is depicted as a sister in a leopard skin dress, who is known as the lady of the library, the lady who records, the creator of everything that can be counted and measured. Whenever they built a temple, what they would do, they had a ritual called stretching the cord. You see her on one side, you see the architect on the other side, and in between there's a cord that they're going to stretch. That is symbolic of, we're looking at the stars for how we're going to build this thing. We're looking at the alignment. Okay, let's put this temple on the ground like this constellation here. So let's stretch this cord, get it, and now we mark. So the phrase as above, so below. So you look at the pyramids, you look at the temples, they're all based in orientation on these constellations. So that's the broad concept. But now, bringing it back to the practical, is about what Kwame said, and the question you raised, the observation you raised, by Hatem, did we missing something? Are we missing something? Are we doing the same thing? Those lessons that informed how we did the sciences continue to inform how we do the sciences, even if we don't know it. And then the very practical application of how to be in rhythm with the universe, with the cosmos, a very practical application is the sun will come up, or the earth will rotate so that the sun appears. We express that as the sun coming up. And at least in many of our traditions, African traditions that predate those boats coming, and that continue once the boats get here because we're forced to labor, and then continue after the moment we fought our way out of enslavement in the practices of our ancestors, which come down to this very generation. It came down to a man like Jacob Carruthers was, son, you be out of the bed before that sun comes up. Why? Because you must rise before the sun. Why? Because you get prepared for the day, and then the sun comes, and when the sun is up, you work. So here's the thing: why do you come before? What are some of the reasons you come before you get up before the sun? That's the moment you can center yourself. So the Buddhists or our Native American kin might say, we must center ourselves, we must meditate, we must reflect. Okay, that's why your mom and them, that's why your daddy said, don't get out the bed before the sun come up. Why? Because you coming. It's almost like Baba Kwame, you're in the noon. And then here come Ra. Here come the sun Okay.
Right.
I emerged out of the noon. And everybody, Toni Morrison, the writer, used to say this. She get up before the sun come up, make herself some tea, sit down with her pad, and start writing. She said, how I wrote, and I did it in part because I had little children. And I had sons, my sons, I had to get up before them. But what I found is I was very effective as I wrote my way into the day. So when you read Toni Morrison, you're reading much of that language is coming like the noon, out of the darkness into the light, morning by morning by morning. That's a very practical. So people say, well, how do I get my life differently? Go to bed, go to sleep, and then get up before the sun come up and everybody start moving, and just sit there and think about it and see if your life don't get better.
And the power of what you just described, Baba, is that, is that not Imani?
That is Imani, bro.
I rise up, and I know personally.
Come on, brother.
I didn't know if you knew, but my background's in math.
Oh, and well, you know exactly what we're talking about. Tell us about that, brother. Man.
Oh, my gosh. So I get up in the morning, right, and I do my reflection and do my libation. And even while I'm doing that, all these ideas begin to flood me, man. It is a flooding of ideas, man, that come over me. And I'm thinking of different ways of, how to present different things that, I tutor in math. And I'm thinking of, these young brothers and sisters that Hatim and I and the rest of our Gye-Nyame crew work with.
Yes.
How to introduce some of these ideas to them, at a very practical level, so that they can see this stuff in action. Yes. And man,
that's it. No, Baba Kwame, you just gave us the practical description of emerging from the noon every day. That's when you're most creative. You just came out of the fertility. And that's why it's important to capture those ideas. Man, so everybody listening, how do I make this apply? You just heard it. Be quiet. Get up early. Come into it. Come into existence. And Baba Hatem, this is the legacy. Talk about that theme. The word legacy. The word legacy coming out of the Middle English. Its origins, its etymology coming through the Latin, legacy, legatia, out of the Latin. So it's a Romance language base, out of the language of Rome, right? Latin. But legacy speaks to that connection. So a legatee, right? It's like a legatee is someone who either through having earned it or through having been born into it has the dignity of being an emissary of the previous generations. Ooh. So the first times you see it applied in the European context is in connection with the church. So you are part of a papal legatee, the Pope. You've been sent as a legatee of the Pope. And who is the Pope? The Pope is the legatee of the church, which means the legatee of Christ, which means, in other words, when you see the Pope is connected. I'm the representative of Jesus. The cat that was crucified. I'm the legatee. In other words, I've been assigned to extend this thing that came from the ancestor that we value most of all. And so whatever I do is to be a message from, or the business committed to being a delegate or a deputy of that original. So when people say leave a legacy, okay, people say I'm gonna create a legacy. Well, it's hard to create a legacy. Meaning you're gonna do something that wasn't done before? Okay, well, then sometimes people do that, but they do something original, but they're coming from somewhere else. And it isn't just individuals, it could be a body of people. Gye-Nyame, Tawi, African Center, ASCAP. Who are we? We are a body of people who are on a mission. We're recovering memory, adapting it to what we need to do now, and then passing it on to the next generation. And that's the act of bequeathing. So people say leave a legacy. This often means for the next generation, help them better understand how you connected to the couple that came before you and the best lessons that you've learned. And so when you do that, over an extended period of time, it becomes, it has a long lasting effect. So much so that it can even skip, because what you've built is a space that endures, even if it has to skip 2 or 3 generations. Institutions. So when we think of Harvard or Yale or Ohio State, I mean, these are small, tiny things in terms of world history. But from our moment of perception, where we are now, these are institutions. And so what happens is we come into them and we find ourselves, they come in, they show us some pictures of some people on the wall, or they make us put on a certain color on a certain day, or they roll a piece of paper and give it to us after they done beat us up for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years. And they say, here, now, you are part of the legacy.
Part of your welcome. Now you can say the Ohio State University.
The Ohio State. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. The place I work now, it's about the Howard University. And I'm laughing. This is a school named for a white man, a very nice white man. I ain't mad at him. I admire General Howard to the degree that I can admire any white person in this field of violence we call America. But the degrees you give, the degrees that my students get, are written in Latin. And that's beautiful. They can't write them in meta nature. Oh, some of my students could, because they have Mario Beatty, who teaches Egyptian hieroglyphs. But they ain't never gonna do that, because they, in their mind, they have been taught that this is their legacy.
This is their legacy, and we build up other people. I mean, but hey, that's another piece, because in many cases we are, in a sense, passing on other people's.
No question.
We have been trained to change, and that's very dangerous for us.
Dangerous, brother. In fact, oh man, let me just interject this right quick, brother Hatem, while I'm thinking about it, because you know how they talk about, in fact, there's been a lot of litigation over the last few years. These white boys who want to get rid of non-whites in these Ivy League institutions, the Harvards, the Yales, because they say you got to have a certain test score and a certain grade point average, and you can get in. Well, of course, non-white people said, okay, if that's the rules, then that's what we'll do. So now what you see is, particularly at a place in the Ivy, like Harvard, for example, the majority of the freshman class is become non-white. Why? Because you got all these kind of African immigrants. You got all these immigrants from China, Korea, other places who are busting out the SAT, who got perfect GPAs. Now they got a problem. Oh, shit. So now they going back. Now they suing to say, there are discriminatory policies, but they're using, for example, there was a case that was, they used an Asian American group that they basically created and then funded, Edward Bloom, this white boy, billionaire, to try to say, we need to get rid of affirmative action. They're really trying to attack it in some kind of way so they can come back around the back door and boost the number of white people who can't now compete by their own standards that they set to keep everybody else out. But the reason I said that, as you were talking, I made me think about it, as it relates to legacy. As these cases have wound their way through the federal district courts, through the state courts in Massachusetts, and then coming forward eventually, because they want to get to the Supreme Court, because they think now that they've stacked it with their white nationalist friends and Negro disciples like Clarence Thomas, they can get rid of affirmative action and maybe begin to attack some of these non-white groups that are being let in. Figure it out. They have had to sacrifice one of the categories they've used to shore up white power in this country. And that is the category of admissions at the Ivy League schools called legacy. Why? What is a legacy?
They had to get rid of it?
Well, they had to either defend it or begin to discard it, because remember, there are several categories that don't rely on GPA or test score.
Right.
Such as, do you have a talent or a skill that will enhance the education of your fellow students? They call that diversity. That's the point of entry. So we need some Black and brown students. We need some Chinese and Asian students. We need a kid from Ghana, or a kid. Okay, we need a kid who plays the flute. We need a Negro that can run a 4.40 and catch a football. So there's certain categories. Now, what about this category? Well, we have a few slots for applicants who are treated preferentially because a parent or other relative belonged to our beloved Harvard Crimson. Who is that? Well, that's the legacy category. What did you do? I was born in the right household. Oh, your mama went to Harvard. Yes. I see. And I almost said Howard because Howard won't say it. There's a common application for Negro colleges, but people are very proud. I'm 5th generation Howard. You got some students who are 4th, 5th generation, 6th generation. And then you got people like probably we were, I know I was 1st generation. But I'm the first, and then people even take pride with that. Why? Because I'm now affiliated. But I just mentioned that when you talk, because legacy is also something that is sometimes passed down to the next generations, to our children, by giving them expectations simply because of when and where they came into existence. So when I see your children, I see them, hey, Baba Kamathi, well, who are you? Oh, my daddy is Hatem. Oh, I got expectations of you. There's a legacy. You ain't got to say nothing of that. You don't, that creates a lot of pressure on some children.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? In fact, there were Marcus Garvey Jr. just made transition in Florida, a little over, about a week and a half, couple of weeks ago. His ritual was yesterday, and I was watching the live stream, and I'll send you the link. You can send it to everybody because it was recorded. It's really just a couple of hours, and of course, his brother could not be there. Dr. Julius Garvey, and I know Julius Garvey. I've met him several times. In fact, presented with him. That's very. He's in New York, so he sent a video, and he spoke. Marcus Garvey Jr.'s 3 children spoke. It's very moving. One of the grandchildren spoke. 2 of his granddaughters are named, both of them named Amy Jakes after their grandmother, because his granddaughters were named for his mother, who both he, of course, and his brother knew, Amy Jakes Garvey, and they knew their father, who passed in 1940. Marcus Garvey Jr. was born in 1930, so he's 10 years old when his father passed. But I'm saying in terms of legacy, because one of the things Dr. Garvey did, Julius Garvey, the living brother who survives him physically here, said was, my brother was perfectly equipped to do the work he was sent here to do, which was perpetuate the work of his father and his mother. And so Julius Garvey started talking about how, because if you see Marcus Garvey Jr., he looked just like Marcus Garvey. First thing, so he's the speech of Marcus and Amy Jakes Garvey. I mean, this is who he is. So he's physically their speech. So you can see his mother and his father in his face. Mostly his father, because we always see his father. But you see pictures of his mother, you can see in the eyes. But he really looked like his father, straight down to the head shape, the goatee. He even then grew hair. My father. And you hear him, man. And what was he talking? One God, one aim, one destiny. The last thing they did was stretch the red, black, and green over the coffin and did the ritual. The UNIA sent the delegation. It was beautiful. But Marcus Garvey Jr. spent his whole life being the Garvey movement as best he could in his body, connected to the organization, to the work. And his brother was like, he was a Pan-Africanist. He was a nationalist. His children, he was a Pan-Africanist. He was a nationalist. I mean, that's the legacy. But if your name, in fact, his daughter told this story very quickly. She went to law school at Texas Southern in Houston. And she said, at my graduation, you can be robed or they give you your hood. You can be given your JD hood. And when I graduated from law school at Ohio State, like when we were all together, I was hooded by David Williams, my law professor, who I loved, who made transition last year. He was at Vanderbilt. He left Ohio State, went to Vanderbilt. Brilliant brother from Detroit, federal income tax attorney, professor, master teacher. I loved David Williams. And of course, I'm wearing no European robe to my graduation. So I had on African robe, and I didn't even get a hood. Like they hood you. They put the hood over you. I didn't buy no hood. I ain't written no hood because you had to get a hood back, and I don't want that European stuff. We on stage. You walk across, you're supposed to bend down, they put the hood on you. I didn't have no hood. Wasn't no hood on that table for me. I didn't buy no hood. I'm just gonna shake your hand and move off. David Williams is helping give out degrees. The dean is standing there The speaker is standing there, Richard Thornburg, who was Attorney General at the time. I didn't shake his hand. You're a racist. You Ronald Reagan. I don't shake your damn hand. I gotta walk across the stage. I won't do that. My mom and them here. So I didn't shake his hand. Shook the dean's hand. I went to shake David Williams' hand. My teacher, this black man, this man took his hood off in front of all them people and put that hood on me. It's still over here in my house. After graduation, everybody else had to take their hood back. I didn't have to take mine back. Why? He gave me his hood. I'm the only one with a hood. Everybody else hood with it. But this man took off his hood and put it on me. That I'm telling you, brother, that I'll never forget that, because he's an ancestor now. I don't wear that hood. At Howard graduation or whatever, I got my robe, whatever. I don't wear, as African cloth, this kind of thing. But that hood, I don't even put that hood on no more. I keep that hood hanging to remind me, because that's the legacy. But the Garvey story is this. That's right. The daughter of Marcus Garvey Jr. says, at my graduation from Texas Southern, my father came, and Marcus Garvey Jr. was a lawyer. Marcus Garvey Jr. hooded me. He put the hood on me in Houston at Texas Southern School of Law graduation. And that was the moment when my classmates found out I was the daughter. Wait, Marcus, that's Marcus Garvey Jr. And in the minute you hear that name and you look at him, you say, that's Marcus. Oh yeah, that's Marcus Garvey. And it was like, wait a minute, Marcus Garvey is your granddaddy? Like, yes. And that whole energy just changed. It's just like, what the hell? That's Marcus Garvey's granddaughter. Because it was on the DS. A few close friends knew, but when my daddy came to graduation and put that hood on me, they all found out. Marcus Garvey is my father. Marcus Garvey is my grandfather. Legacy. Right. Now, at that point, they expect you to come out and argue a case that makes all of us free tomorrow. Why? Oh, you're Marcus Garvey's granddaughter. So when you talking about being Hatem's Hatem's daughter, Hatem's son, oh shit, man, we expect you. Legacy can become a curse if we don't equip our children.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So but when done the right way, is when you see Mariba Kelsey, then you see Reba Kelsey and Romani Kelsey, and you see Madibo Kelsey, you understand, because they have extended the legacy of their parents.
Right.
And when I think about on this day of Imani, when we were all together physically, and we would have the big Columbus Kwanzaa celebrations, and everybody would be together, and Tony West and Aziza West and the Imani dancers would come, and their son would come out that kid hitting that drum like his father. And see, this is because I had faith that the next generation could continue, but I did not leave that faith, as Baba Kwame says, as you're saying right now. I didn't leave that faith in my head. I sparked and gained the momentum to then put that faith in this next generation by showing them what I know, so that they can know what I know. And so when I'm no longer here, they can enhance it and continue it. Legacy is it's always a practical thing. That is the act of faith. You got to make it manifest. You leave it. That's when you leave it a legacy. That means you're becoming a link in a chain. So have we, Hatem, do we want something different than our ancestors? Yes and no. No, in the sense that not in terms of human desire. Yes, in terms of we have not cultivated enough memory to receive from these previous generations their experiences, so that we don't make the same mistakes, because the desires of our heart are the same. I would think.
Man.
No.
I think you slam dunked him.
No, man. That's not true.
You know, beat up Imani. Imani is like, hey, let's stop.
Yeah, but charting when you say charting a legacy, that phrase, charting a legacy, is a beautiful capture of, to take it all the way back to where we started. Baba Kwame raised the question of the noon, and not the question, the observation of the noon. The charts have been written. And so when you said at the very beginning you know, where does this sense of being off course, to kind of use the language, charting a legacy? Because charting, you know, where's our path? How do we get off course? For the Egyptians, for example, they like the Yoruba or the Igbo or the, you know, the Fon, the Homi, or the groups that we cluster under the Akan, label Akan. The Africans are always coming up with names for labels for things that, you know, are in reality. And people, so the Europeans, you know, our children who don't remember will be like, oh, they have a lot of gods. No, there's only one creative force, and it has always existed. We name principles. So another principle that they name out of this thing has always existed is another label for something that has always existed, which they would call Ma'at. Ma'at can't be reduced into principles. So, you know, we say Ma'at is truth, order, balance, justice, reciprocity. Those are just dimensions of Ma'at. See, Ma'at is too. And so, in other words, it's not, you can't really get off course. Why? Because Ma'at is. Like gravity is Ma'at. You know, shady people who then in the end get treated that way, that's Ma'at. Meaning, what is Ma'at? Ma'at is the principle that everything is in balance. You can't be out of balance. Well, how is that possible? I fell. Yeah, you did fall. You know why? Because that is Ma'at. Meaning what? If you go so far over here, this is going to happen. In other words, you can predict what's going to happen. That's Ma'at. That's right. You can't escape that. That's so what looks like we're being off course, what the Egyptians may call in certain contexts is fet or disorder, what the Europeans sometimes translate as chaos. It ain't really chaos. People watching Batman movies and think, you know, the Joker comes in and says, I just do things. There's a symmetry, or a Two-Face flipping the coin saying, you know, I'm going to let fate determine. No, that's all Ma'at. You know what I'm saying? You know, you want to know how you end up with a Gotham City that's rife with crime? You start doing dirty stuff to people. Next thing you know, if people ain't eating, you got a corrupt cop. Yeah, that's all Ma'at. You know, you can't escape every action. You can predict what's going to happen. So the Egyptians would say, we don't want people to be hungry or come. We don't want criminality. So what do? Change your behavior. If you change your behavior, Ma'at, and so then that gets translated by us as Ma'at was restored. No, Ma'at really wasn't restored. Ma'at is always. Ma'at is. The only question is, what do you want to experience? Because you can change what you experience based on how you move through the world. But that's only because Ma'at exists, meaning you can get a different outcome if you put I mean, this is your language, Baba Kwame, in terms of the language of mathematicians, input, output. You know, that's why, in fact, the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Howard at one time, he's not the dean there anymore, but we were in a conversation and he was trying to get me to explain how Africana studies, why isn't it in the humanities, or, you know, why isn't it in social sciences? I said, see, Africana studies is a concept that very few people understand in an academic sense. I said, it's like math. I said, you're a mathematician, right? He said, yeah. I said, you got a PhD in math? Yes. I said, is math an art or a science? He started smiling. Everybody else in the meeting is like, what is he talking about? And I said, listen, some of these people might be confused, Dean. Explain to them why you can't answer that question. He said, well, math is a concept. Yeah. Math, people think math is just it's an art, man. You're trying to perceive reality and translate it into some symbols to put a little handle on reality. So the best mathematicians, man, cats is thinking, man, you know what? If I look out there, I bet you if my eyes were strong enough, I could see the back of my head. What? Yeah, see, because light curves. Right. So if there's a loop that I could have been, what are you talking about, man? I'm thinking beyond the 1 + 1. I mean, mathematicians are some of the most sublime artistic thinkers, man. Because you're trying to reduce reality to some concepts. That's my art, man. In fact, I would say finally, math is almost an expression of faith, brother. Because mathematicians believe it all has a symmetry. It's all, in fact, at the end of Deborah Ma'at Moore, who was a mathematician, mathematics teacher, educator out of Detroit, she used to and Mario and them talk about this too, Theobald Benga, when you look at the end of Egyptian mathematical equations, sometimes when you've solved an equation, the translation for the end of the phrase will be something like, my eye is satisfied. My eye is like, you got it. How you balance the equation? Is it balanced? Yes, my eye is satisfied. Okay, you see. Because it was there all along. You just had to get your skills up. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I find that, math has always provided me with another way of perceiving. Big brother Bonacci and I.
Oh, the man.
We have these ongoing arguments. Yes, sir. We have this ongoing argument. It is one of his presentations. He says that numbers lie. And I tell him, I said, Baba, I have to disagree with you on that. And the foundation of my argument is that just because you cannot express something,
right,
does not mean that something is lying.
That's exactly right. I don't know that he would disagree with you on that. I mean, in the sense that, because Bonacci talk about metanetric, and it's interesting you say that, Kwame, because Bonacci, Mzee, cats are science guys, man. They architects, surveyors, mathematicians. So y'all's conversation gonna be different than me and you. That's funny.
But what you were talking about as far as the faith, many of us, in our math and sciences, we have these, in anything really, in most of things, we have these axiomatic things that we accept as true.
Right. Yes, sir.
And until we find something that contradicts it, we have to go on accepting it as true. And so when we build our foundation on those axioms, then if we have a disagreement, as me and Bonacci, for example,
yes,
the question I have to get to him is, which axiom are you questioning? Because once I understand that, then I may be able to either build up your argument or at least have an argument to help you, see where there's a contradiction. Or are you going to accept that what you're trying to say is actually a paradox and not a lie or a contradiction? Right?
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
No, that's it. You gotta have You try to take one step closer to the thing that's true, which is why people talk about Ma'at as being true. There is something that if we can just get to the thing, if we can get to having it revealed, we're going to reach consensus. But you're right. Where are you starting? What's the axiom? Oh, wait, we have to test that. And you keep going back. Go to the second verse of the lift every voice and sing. Some people say, well, I don't like lift every voice and sing. It's kind of sad. No, listen to what they're saying.
That's right.
So, when they say stony the road we trod, is you like when I tell you talking about, our ancestors, our most recent ancestors coming out of enslavement, stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Meaning that, when we lost sight of what you raised in Baba Kwame, there is a principle that is bedrock true. But if we lose sight, if we can't see it, you know what I'm saying? Then the road, the reality we're experiencing now becomes our reality. That shouldn't be the axiom. You know what I'm saying? Stony the road we tried. Bitter the chastening rod. I'm getting beat out here in these streets. Black Lives Matter. Felt in the day, but you feel that differently in the days when hope unborn had died. Then James Rosemont Johnson comes back with the couplet, yet. Now this is the faith. Yet with a steady beat. Meaning what? There's a rhythm in the universe that transcends our immediate condition. Then he asked the question, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed? In other words, didn't we make it? You know what I'm saying? Because you understand there's something bigger than this cracker with this whip.
That's right.
If you lost sight of it, you're looking at the field. Hope unborn had died yet with a steady beat, meaning what? If you just keep faith.
That's right.
to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle,
Right,
yet
that's
with a
right.
steady beat. Have not, I told you, didn't I tell you? You know what I'm saying? Then you come back with Clara Ward and them and Haley Jackson and them and Aretha Franklin and them. My soul look back and wonder how I got over.
How I got over.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you ain't got to wonder about it. Yeah, with a steady beat, baby. Just keep walking. You know what I'm saying? So
That's what's up.
that's mathematics, brother. Yeah, you say, but not just, no, come on, man. What's the axiom, brother? Right, you got to be short-sighted.
But you know, we spoke briefly on this fat, and how Tim knows, I tell him this all the time, that you know, even chaos, or what's thought to be chaos, has order in it.
That's right. That's right. And that's something you can explain much better than I can. And that's why when the Europeans translate it's fit into chaos, it's like, don't use that word. Because when you think chaos, you think something that's not right. No, there's no. I guess, in fact, I don't know. Let me ask you, is that one of the principles of the set of inquiries that cluster around the label chaos theory?
The idea of chaos theory.
Yeah, help me, because I don't.
Is being able to, well, you know, in the world of math and statistics and all that, we like to be able to predict. And you know, there are some things where, like, you know, if you're traveling 80 miles an hour and you start here in Columbus, you know, and you're driving north on 71, you travel for, you know, 2 hours, you can fairly reckon that, you know, you're going to travel 160, you know, miles roughly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, there are some things where, let's say you're on 71, but there is a, let's just say, some kind of road stoppage, right? You know, traffic stoppage. And well, to stick closer to the point. So let's say you're traveling and, you know, your tire gets a leak. So that causes a change. Well, normally, you know, you got AAA. So, you know, you're going to call the man and have him come change your tire and stuff. And he tells you, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Well, that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Right.
So you know, so now you have to recalibrate, right? Because you added 20 more minutes into your time, and then you add another 15, 20 minutes for the time it's going to take him to change the tire and you to get started again. But of course, you know, you don't know what's going to prevent him or hold him up or whatever. So that's another thing that is a change in the road, quote unquote.
Yes, sir.
And so the idea of chaos theory is that where, to use the expression how Tim's most familiar with, where you have a butterfly in East Asia and it's flapping its wings in such a way where that it creates a hurricane in the Atlantic.
That the butterfly effect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's called the butterfly effect, really that's just them trying to express the idea that there are some systems wherein small changes
have massive effect.
You cannot predict what the outcome will be.
Nope.
Just in real small changes. And so when we entertain the idea of what if Brother Kamati never came to Ohio State?
I think about that.
You know, and within the whole frame of thing, it seems like such a small change. But the change in your life that it would make, the change in our lives that it would make, you know, you can't put a prediction, an outcome on how that's going to turn out.
That's right, Bob.
That's the idea of chaos theory. is that every small
Hey, but
change.
you know he
So-
blames us.
I did.
He blames us because he
And
was
I do.
glad to be a lawyer, and now he
Yeah, because of y'all. But that's okay. No, but what you said about, it's interesting you say that about Kwame, because I know we winding up. So I mean, but this is such an important conversation. Thinking about legacy, thinking about faith, everything that happened the way it's supposed to happen. Some people would say that the Egyptians would say it's all in divine order. Because I can't imagine my individual brief period between birth and transition here on this earth. I can't imagine what it would have been if I hadn't gotten in that Ford Escort and driven up from Nashville to Columbus and been there, or if I hadn't gone into a panel talk at Ohio State that was organized by and participated in by a brother from the psychology department named Richard Kelsey, who was dropping some bombs. I'm like, man, this dude, hey man, what can I hear some more about this? Well, we get together on Friday nights, and that's the rest of my life, right?
He got him.
Or hanging out with Hot Terminal, man.
Now make that box.
Janice and all them, man. We changed Ohio State, man. Look, Larry Williamson, all them cats now at the Hale. I guess they got a Hale house. They done took over the student union. They had knocked down the building we used to meet in. Right. But had it not been for those moments, there are Black students. I came up there for one of my students, Shanice Thompson. I love her. She ain't my biological child, but that's my child. She got a PhD from Ohio State in Africana Studies last year, and I flew in just long enough to come to the defense, get back in the plane, and get back to work. But I got in the cab. I got out right there in front of the Hale house. I ain't never been in the Hale Center because when we was all in school, that wasn't no Black thing. But now it's all nice and the other building is gone, grass. Right. I went in there. I said, "Is Larry Williamson here?" "Oh, he isn't in yet. I can leave a message." Yeah, these kids don't know me. I'm looking at these Black kids who are enjoying a space that didn't exist for us. And because they don't know,
right?
Right. But before, as I left the message, I said to them, I said, "Y'all know Larry? Oh yeah, Larry Wilson's the director." I said, "Let me tell y'all something. You probably, how old people talk to kids. Right. Now, I ain't gonna give y'all no lecture. I gotta go over here to this defense. My child get ready to get this PhD." But I said, that man who comes in here that y'all work with every day, ask him sometime to tell y'all about how this all came into existence. Just to let y'all know, not to name me or you, Hatem, or Janice, or any of the rest of our people, but so that why y'all back there on your phones never looked up while I could be writing on this pad the coordinates to nuke the building, because y'all ain't looked up for me. You know what I'm saying? Just understand that you are heirs to a legacy that was charted. You are benefiting, and if you want the next generation of students to benefit, because I'm telling you about these white folks, they'll take all this.
They take it all
because they got a legacy. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll run over there protesting and won't even remember the last time and how we won that fight. I tell remember we was all in that damn fight. But if you don't get the playbook from generation to generation, trust, they always got a playbook. You understand? Right. I said, y'all need to ask that man. Ask Larry. And I don't even know if they ever gave him the message, because I ended up having to reach out to him. He said, "Oh, I didn't get the message." Of course you didn't. I could have been an axe murderer coming up, and they never looked up from the phones. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a criticism of them, because that's what it happens when we don't tend to making sure they understand.
It's a brother Rashid that used to come up to campus. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, he used to come up to campus and chill with us. He did some entertainment at the cultural place.
Yes.
Right. So he goes in and he talks to Larry. He say, "Larry, I see the kids around here. Where we at?" He asked about it. Larry looked at him and said, "Y'all don't exist no more."
Really?
He said, Larry looked at him and said, "Y'all don't exist no more."
Really?
Yeah, that's where we at now. We've been, it's like, that we grabbing on other people's legacy, and in a sense, our stories are being, it's like, it was said best in the movie Fight Club. We are the middle children of history.
Right.
Yeah. It's gone. Because it wasn't radical enough to where we had to fight necessarily the police, and it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And it's just we don't exist.
Well, one thing we can do, brother, and that is maybe I don't know, you might have to get us together for a virtual reunion and record it before anybody else makes transition. That's and true. Get Larry to be there, and then at least, as you said, what you're doing there, it'll all be recorded.
Scribe. This is the new scribing.
This would be the scribe, right? Because when we did it, we was connected to, Mawada Ross, who's an ancestor now. Them cats are gone.
Right.
Nick Nelson.
Right.
Them cats are all gone now, but we should probably get this down. Just like the genealogy and the history of this formation, Gye-Nyame, Tawi, African Center. It's time. We don't need to, we let Nomo get out of here, man. It's petting them cats, man. We gotta record this, man. We could be doing this all day, man. I don't know, people like, wait, I thought this was Kwanzaa.
Right. Wait, my mom asked me, because we met with Jack yesterday. I had my son go in and edit it, and he was like, it was an hour. My mom said, people be sitting there listening to y'all for an hour? I said, man, that's,
that ain't nothing. What they doing?
I still talking.
Brother, they sit there and watch beef on YouTube for days. For days. What are y'all watching, man? This is
right.
Made up beef. But hey, we want to thank brother Kamati, Greg Kamati Card, Doctor.
Thank you.
Don't thank me, man. Thank you.
Do
for joining us, family. I am hoping that you got something out of here. Greg, is there any way that they can stay in contact with you? Because you got some things going on, so let them know.
Nah, the easiest thing, man, for me is, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but the best way usually is email. So, but you ain't got to email me direct. You can, I'll spell it out. It's PERMEDJAT. Permejat. It means house of books, which I guess is adapt. You see my house of books at gmail.com. That's the best way to do it. And then, we go from there. But I following your lead, brother, because, you shown after this plague hit, everybody went online. They just joining you. You've been doing this. So our sister out of New York and New Jersey, Karen Hunter, started a weekly conversation we do on weekends on Saturdays for a couple of hours. It's called, she called it In Class with Carr, and I went along with it because I'm like, okay, that's kind of embarrassing. I was in class, but part of it is
a few people to your class, bro.
In class says in class. This is in class. No, in class with Carr. Okay. All right. Well, we for now we'll do it, but because in my mind, let me not say in my mind, we're not going back to what we were doing before. You saw it. Y'all saw it before, probably many of us, because you started before this thing hit. But, our students who are in universities, who are now, as people get shot up in the arm or whatever, is going to let people see each other again, going to go in and say, why am I paying all this tuition? Because, I was at my house doing it. So it's going to be a lot of administrators who have some explaining to do.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of, and meanwhile, we're building the thing we should have had all along. University education should not be the center of our teaching and learning practice. And nobody should be respecting no college professors as if college professors are better than anybody else, when we can all talk and all have conversation and we all read the same thing and come through it with people who understand and have conversation. We can all move forward. So that's what we beginning to experiment with. And then, we just joining in the streams like this one here. Because y'all are laying out the stake for what comes next, and I couldn't be happier. Because that elitism time is over for that. It didn't serve us anyway. Shout out to all the Negro politicians. You know who you are. But anyway, so
you know who you are. Just give the some love for his insight and foresight.
No. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Baba Kwame. Thank you, Baba Hatem. And it's good to be with everybody.
Yes, sir. So, happy Kwanzaa, family. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Great Imani. Y'all can check out Brother Greg Carr. We're going to use Gye-Nyame language. Y'all can check out Greg Carr every Kuumba on the Karen Hunter Show. Yes. Sometimes he's on Roland Martin.
Oh, yeah, Thursday nights. Yeah, that's right. My man Roland.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And also you can check him out at Africana Car on Twitter for those that are on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, I told him I would start his Instagram for him. I'm just
man, the gram is too much, man. I'm an old man. They in something called Clubhouse now, right? I'm like,
yeah,
damn.
now. But the Clubhouse pieces, we ain't got to worry about that. That is basically a private thing where people feel it's exclusive right now, so people are real hyped up about it.
Ain't it something, man? How these Europeans can create something to make you think you're the only one in it. Meanwhile, they market testing. That shit, we used to call that the party line, man. What the hell?
That's all. Really, our ancestors doing this. This is what we're doing. We're doing a party line. We just see each other. You know what I'm saying?
Gonna get paid.
They're gonna get paid. And now that for us, like I said, this is about us building content. Yes. It's for our next generation because we build the content, learn how to protect it. Our next generation will figure out how to get it out to everybody.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? By taking these tools and working with them. It's on and popping. But yo, man, it was a pleasure.
Before you get out of here, Brother Kamati, just your wisdom on one more thing, bro. And that is, what is a good book that we adults can be reading with our teenagers?
Oh. Well, it depends. There's a lot of ways we can go with that, right? But that'd be a whole nother conversation. But if young people, I mean, we were into comic books when we were in, even though kids now, they've been into movies, this kind of thing. So I won't even go down that road of graphic novels, comic books. But there's I just picked one kind of serendipity. I'm looking around to see if there's a couple of, if you got some teenagers who will pay attention, and we all will, but there's a small novel. It's a historical novel by my dear friend and brother Daniel Black. It's called The Coming. Now, I was looking around because I thought I might have a copy around here, but I don't. It's over there.
Tim, if you could make a note of that for me.
I'm writing it down right now, sir.
Yeah, The Coming. It's really about enslavement and what happened to our ancestors, but it's so beautifully told and narrated. It is really the collective voice of our ancestors, from before capture to the boat to then coming out into the islands and then being, but it's told from our perspective. It's one of the few pieces of work that is written so beautifully that, teenagers can get into it. It's a book that you could really, if you start reading it, it's not very long. If you start reading it, you might not put it down because the language, it's almost like a long poem, but it carries you through page to page. And the beauty of the craft, Daniel Black is a master, right? He's a master teacher. He's at Clark Atlanta University, his alma mater, actually. Got his PhD from Temple. That's why
his name again?
Daniel Black, Black, like us, Black. Daniel, his middle name is Omotosho, Omotosho, Omotosho. But Daniel Black, Daniel Omotosho Black, out of Arkansas. The language teenagers will get into because it's beautiful language, but then the powerful concepts underneath the language then can spark conversations. It's a great book, and I would say that one probably before I was trying to think of, because fiction, it isn't perhaps as daunting, it seems, as history. And although this is straight history, but he's done it in a fictional rendering that just draws you in. So I would say that to begin with. Maybe we could do another one where we just talk about books intergenerational. We could do it because that's where we started in Columbus, right there on E. Livingston.
And you got every last one of those books right behind you.
No, brother, I got that one, but I mean, there's a lot of different ones, man. I mean, I was telling Karen. Anyway, let me not start. I'm gonna look straight into Karen.
So, family, if you are ever looking up the term bibliophile, you will see a picture of Greg Carr sitting in the room right there. But hey, I want to thank you again. You got if there's no final words, we're gone.
Except thank you. I'm grateful, brother. Good to be with you, brothers, always.
All right.
Likewise, brother. One love.
One love. Peace. Yeah.
Watch the next video. Watch the next video. Watch the next video. No, I'm just joking, family. Family, thank you for joining us. Be sure to catch us on the next video, family. Peace. Watch the next video. Watch.
Thank you, Dr. Greg Carr, for leading us in an inspirational presentation on the principle of Imani. And I want to also thank everyone for participating in the 7th and last night of the 2020 Columbus Kwanzaa celebration. Please visit the Kwanzaa vendor tabs and buy from our vendors and support Black businesses. Ujamaa. Remember, overcome obstacles with Imani, faith, courage, endurance, and persistence. Lastly, on this evening, we will have our community closing. After the closing, enjoy our DJ for the evening. We have enjoyed celebrating Kwanzaa 2020 with you on GNJ Media, Imani family. And remember, overcome obstacles with Imani, faith, courage, endurance, and persistence. Without faith, all things are impossible. With faith, nothing is impossible. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
I am a genius. My ancestors were geniuses. My ancestors have made me a genius in all that I think, say, and do. I must declare myself a genius. I am a genius. Whenever I am myself, I practice my geniusness and do great things. All my thoughts, choices, and deeds must express my geniusness.
I am a genius. My decisions must always be in the best interest of myself, my family, my people, and my God. Only then will I and everyone I know that I am a genius.
I am a genius. At all times, my geniusness must reflect my culture. My geniusness must serve my God. My geniusness must make me be one in love and harmony with my family. My geniusness must protect my people. Yes, at all times I must demonstrate excellence because I am a genius.